I've been wanting to make this video for a very long time. A lot of... Okay, before I start this off I'm not bashing all men, okay? This is just a majority of them, especially the black men, because we need to start taking accountability for our actions. And we have to really break these generational curses, because a high majority of black men don't know how to, one, take care of themselves and treat a woman. It's very sad. It's not just black men. I notice it's like Hispanic men, Latino men. I'm not saying that all white men are better than any of these other races, or Asian men, or whatever other race. I'm just saying that a high majority of black men and Latino men and Hispanic men tend to have the same traits. And I do believe it has to do with their upbringing, obviously. Because how you're raised and how you grow up and how you tend to carry yourself in the future, unless you choose to change and do better for yourself. That has to be your own doing, your own mindset, and things like that. You have to be willing to want to change yourself. You can't just have somebody try to change you, or whatever the case may be. Because like when you're so accustomed to doing certain things in life, and you're so used to talking a certain way, acting a certain way, you create habits. It could be good habits, it could be bad habits. One thing I'm grateful for is that I always tell my son, like, don't repeat the same things that I'm doing that's bad. Do better. Okay. Focus on school, focus on your education, and thank God he has been doing that. And I pray for him every night for his protection, for his education, and things like that. And thankfully, God has been protecting my son and answering my prayers, and my son is doing good. He's excelling. He's getting awards and stuff like that. And he respects his grandmother, which is good, because me and my mother didn't have the best relationship, but he always tells me like, oh, be nice to her and things like that. So I'm learning. So before I get into this topic, I just want to say that I mentioned this many times before. I had, like, don't get me wrong, I had friendships that lasted years, like 6 years, 10 years, and whatever. But that has ended due to them betraying me and disrespecting me and things like that. When I grew up, I witnessed like a lot of anger in one of my parents. One of my parents had a lot of anger in them, and frustration. And the other parent was a good provider. Both of them were good providers, but the other parent was a good provider, but wasn't there emotionally. Okay, emotionally detached themselves from me and my sibling, unfortunately. But it took me a while to realize, like, it wasn't intentional. Like, sometimes people just don't know any better. They just, they're raised a certain way. They don't know how to, I feel like affection and attention to your children in a positive way does play a factor in their adulthood, when they get older. I feel like it is important. So when I had my son, I tried my very best to do the opposite of how I was raised. Not saying that I had such a horrible. I never like had the I never starved or whatever the case may be, and I always had what I needed. But, you know, certain things could have been a lot more better. That's all I gotta say. Like, um, especially the protection. The protection, is a big deal. Protecting your kids, making sure they're safe, being involved in their lives, interacting. So I tried very hard, when I had my son, until he was 9 years old, to interact, and I did the best I could. You know, um, things were going okay, but I always felt like there was no like bond. There's no bonding connection that was lacking. Ever since he was a baby, I always felt like there was like a lack of connection, which is kind of crazy to me because I breastfed him. Don't get me wrong, like he was like he loves me, like saying he loved me. He was a happy kid. I showed him affection, he showed me affection, stuff like that. But I always felt like there was some type of like detachment to a mother son type of bond, which is I don't understand why I felt like that. But I did play with him. I did interact with him. Things that my parents didn't really do. Like I mean, my father, he was the way that he interacted with he did try. I do remember him playing sometimes with us when we were little, like outside, and he did try his best to interact, like especially when he was watching TV, like educate us and stuff like that. But like I said, there was a lot of yelling going on and things like that, like frustration, and I feel like, and I witnessed like my mother like nagging a lot, and I could tell that my dad, he didn't like that, because especially because he was tired. He worked at a very good job. He had a very, very good job. And my mom did too. She had a good job too. So I think that, her way of communicating, she didn't really know how. So she felt like, okay, well, if I antagonize him, um, put my frustration on him, that's gonna make him feel some type of way and give me what I want. I don't know. I don't know what, like, the way women think sometimes. We tend to like over like analyze things, and we think way over the box, and sometimes when we think is one thing, it really is not what it is, like type thing. And I think that she was trying to antagonize him and push his buttons to dig for information to see where his head was at, type thing. You know what I'm trying to say? And it wasn't what she thought it was. You know what I'm trying to say? So, um, but the thing is, like I noticed, like my dad. The good things I can say about my dad is that he did love animals, and he loved fish, and he loved birds and stuff like that. But then he'll take his anger out on the dogs, like which was bad, and I witnessed that, and it was traumatizing, and I don't want like to bash him and make him look like a bad guy, because at the end of the day, my father came from um 1 out of 10 siblings, and my mother came from a different country, so they're like from two different worlds. Like my mother, she wasn't really like an emotional type of person. And after my father passed away, because my mother tried the best she could, like she took care of my dad and she took care of us, but she was so depressed that she didn't. We wanted her attention, we wanted her guidance, so we had to like basically like raise ourselves, like what I'm saying. But she was there, she provided like financially and everything else, but we had to basically like raise ourselves, and we had to like look and seek for answers elsewhere from strangers and stuff like that. And I mostly did the most seeking, and because I didn't have no structure, no guidance, no nothing. And I was lost for so many years. So, and the sad thing about it is that I couldn't even seek guidance from like my teachers in school, because my teachers in school would bully me, and I would get bullied from kids in school, for my, I keep saying, I don't mean to keep saying that. Um, I would get bullied in school for like not dressing like good fashion, and it wasn't my fault. Um, my mom said she had a hard time finding clothes for me, and it wasn't like I was that overweight. I was just built different, And my hair, I didn't know how to take care of my hair. My hair was never done. So I got bullied a lot, whatever. So I always got mistreated. I always got mistreated, like majority of my life. And it still hurts. I'm trying not to get emotional, but it still hurts. Like I got mistreated from both of my parents. And after my dad will like verbally mistreat me, he will buy me a gift and whatever and apologize for it. My mom, she kind of did the same thing. Like I was born on my dad's birthday. And I'm not trying to bring like zodiac signs into this whole situation, but I was born on my dad's birthday, and my mom, she's a Virgo, I'm a Virgo. I'm trying not to believe in that stuff anymore because I'm trying to get myself to God. But anyways, so she would say like after my dad passed away, she would always say like, um, you act just like your dad, and da, da, da. And it's crazy because when I was younger, I wanted to be I wanted to be a boy because I didn't want to go through what I was going through as a girl. I felt like I was going through so much torture, and I didn't want to continue to go through that. Like I felt like, okay, if I was a boy, I wouldn't have to go through this. And I was fully developed at such a young age. I think that's why my mom said that she had trouble finding clothes for me. But it's just like so it's like when I started like trying to find my own identity and whatever, it was very hard. It took me a very long time. I'm still trying to find myself and whatever. So I felt like I had to like buy friendship. Um and it's not like I'm not, when I say buy friendship, I'm not saying like, oh, give people money for them to like me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like easily get manipulated into peer pressure to fit in and whatever. And I didn't start doing that until like my sophomore year in high school, whatever. I was just like, okay, I'm alone. I hate being alone, you know. And I hung out with girls, and I realized how I hung out with girls and I realized how like, I'm sorry, my sister just texted me. I hung out with girls and I realized how catty they were and how conniving they were, and I couldn't trust them. So I was like, I don't like hanging out with girls, like, So I hung out with boys, and a lot of the boys, they didn't like disrespect me. I had fun hanging out with them. Um, just stuff like that, like just hanging out with them, like just friends, like as friends. And I just didn't like hanging out with females like I used to. I had like probably like one friend or whatever that was female at the time or whatever. And mm, I'm gonna try to make this video short. So then I realized, I was just like, I don't know. I just didn't care, like, you know what I'm saying, about anything. Like, I just really didn't care. Because I felt like nobody cared about me, you know what I'm saying? And it took me a long time I always try to, I didn't really know who God was, you know, and I was just lost and confused because I didn't have no guidance, like I said before. Like, um, my mom was always gone, so, you know, obviously I would throw parties and when she wasn't there, stuff like that, and whatever, just disrespect her in her house. And after I had my son, I calmed down a lot, but then I just went back to doing dumb stuff. Like, so I realized that the men that I felt like were the men for me were just disrespectful men, like disrespectful. And I noticed that the reason why they are the way that they are is how they were raised, because their mother was no better. Was no better. Like, she neglected them emotionally, she neglected them in so many different ways. So um or they were just like selfish, spoiled brats. I don't freaking know. But I felt like I deserved to be disrespected, you know? So I notice that a lot of men these days, even if it's their own child, if you're not giving them the attention, or you're not like supporting them financially, or letting them take full control over your life or your belongings or things like that, they will not give a damn about you or your child. If you're paying your child more attention, you're taking very good care of your child and making sure your child's straight, they will get so mad if you're not giving them that same attention. And it's like you're trying to give them that same attention, but of course you got to attend to the child and make sure the child's safe and secured and whatever the case may be. But they will get so pissed off and be like, oh, you don't give a damn about me. You love that child more than me. It's sad. This is how society is. And they rather be with a woman who neglects their child and neglects herself, and puts him, the man, before everyone, even before God. A lot of these men, they don't believe in God. They say they want a godly woman, but then when they get a godly woman, they can't stand it. That's why I have learned the hard way. I'm like, how many times I have to keep hitting the same wall, same wall, same wall, and continue to bring all these negative people into my life. And to be honest with you, I had to keep telling myself, like, it's okay to be alone, because technically I'm not alone because I have God. And God, he will provide and he will see you through. So I have to keep telling myself that I'm not alone. I have to choose God first. If I have to be, I don't even want to get married anymore, to be honest with you. I feel like the men these days are, you can't trust them. They're disgusting. A lot of them are not faithful men. Um, they can't. They don't know how to be. They don't know how to treat women. They want to use you for everything you got, and it's just sad. A lot of them don't want to be men. You know, they just don't want to. They don't want to provide. They don't want to support. They don't want to do nothing. They just want everything to be easily handed to them. And so I've been doing good. I've been keeping to myself for a while and focusing on me, God, and the baby. And honestly, I told myself, like, I don't want to marry in this world. God didn't come here and focus on marriage and things like that. He focused on teaching us how to do things the right way. You know what I'm saying? He values marriage, yes, but that doesn't have to be the goal when you're on this earth. That doesn't have to be your purpose. You know what I'm trying to say? So this is how I feel. I want to do better, you know, say as a person, as a woman, as a daughter, as a sister, as a mother, as an aunt, as an individual, as God's child. I want to do better and raise this child to know who God is and to set a good example. And the only way I can do that is if I just put God 100% first. Even if that means that I'm going to be single for the rest of my life, I'm okay with that because I don't trust any of these men. I don't want to bring another man into my child's life. And God forbid something happens to my child. There's too many incidents going on in this world. You can't even trust like the bus driver protecting your kids on the buses these days. There's innocent children getting harmed and hurt on the bus. Okay. There's things happening in daycares. There's things happening everywhere. That's why you have to introduce your child to God and you have to be obedient to God for protection. This world is getting more crazier and crazier these days. A lot of these men, there's a lot of sex offenders and rapists that live in my area. Okay? There's a lot of child molesters, rapists, men that don't have no remorse, that don't care. They don't care. They will risk it all to get what they want. And unfortunately, that's how it is where I'm at. It's not just where I'm at, it's everywhere. But a majority of sex offenders live around where I stay at. It's sad but true. Okay. And it's not just like, oh, protect your daughters. You gotta protect your sons too. You shouldn't encourage your children to have sex at such an early age. Okay? You should encourage them to get their education. I don't care if it's a boy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Encourage your children to stay focused, stay away from peer pressure. Teach them about peer pressure. Teach them how to avoid it. Teach them how to have their own mind, their strong mind, and be a leader, you know? And stay focused in school until they finish college. Like, you know? And who cares if they're still a virgin? Because when I look at my son and I realize he's 17 years old, I see a baby. I see 14-year-olds and 13-year-olds and 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds. They look like babies to me. Okay? When I was their age, I grew up too fast. You know, we have to teach our kids to enjoy the essence of their age for as long as they can, you know? Because when my son was a kid, when my son was little, I let him wear his costumes to the store to enjoy, you know what I'm saying, being a kid and things like that. So it's sad. We have to pray hard. If we don't, like, I'm starting to realize I'm not listening to bad music no more. I don't want to listen to bad music no more. I don't want to be famous no more. I don't want to be rich no more because I understand why God didn't like push. He could have had the opportunity to be rich. And I understand why God didn't push that because more money, more problems. Yes, it is nice to have money and it's not like God wants us to be poor. He just wants us to understand that like with money, there comes problems and consequences. Like, just value what you have.